Welcome to Brand Builders TV. Deep dive topics, tools and resources brought to you by global thought leaders from within the Brand Builders Club. This show gives you access to the strategies that you can use to move forward with ease and flow in every area of your life and business. In today's show, Alan is going to share how becoming the master of your personal and business practices is a huge success factor. Forever an entrepreneur, he has embraced creative solutions as a superpower for success, and he's going to show you how you can do it too. One of the ways that Alan is building his brand is through the creation of his own podcast called Practice Mastery. Today, Alan is going to share how he is creating his legacy through his podcast and gives you food for thought about your legacy. Learn it, model it, and get shit done. Let's go.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here with you as a guest on BB TV, Brand Builders TV. And today my topic is, as I've posted, is on building your legacy. And so I want to tell you a little story. I met Sammy a number of years ago, and we've just kept in really great touch. And she is building her legacy, and that is, of course, those of you know who Sammy Blindell is, building her legacy as a brand building expert. And that's not new, but the legacy is creating more and more stuff that supports that brand. So she inspired me and, of course, invited me to be on Brand Builders TV today. And also, this is going to be an episode, of course, on my podcast, Practice Mastery, which I just launched. It's actually in pre-launch, and episodes are being lined up right now. And of course, we're producing episodes just like this. In other words, producing great and valuable content, which you can too. And it can be your legacy project. It doesn't have to be your legacy project. But in this Facebook Live today, live TV, I want to share with you and teach you some things that are going to help you begin to or continue to build your legacy. And what I mean by a living legacy is that you're building something of value and creating a lot of value that can be added to not only your brand, but really what is your brand? Is it something that represents you in a very authentic and great way. And what better to build a living legacy? In other words, help people, serve people, create real value, not just value, that seems like such a generic overused term, but actually change their lives, actually begin to change their lives. So Practice Mastery is, thanks for posting that there, Sammy, the link. Obviously, it is my Practice Mastery podcast is a live podcast now. I have 3 episodes that are published right now and a number of episodes in the works. Now, would you like to know a little bit about how this came to be? Because I did know and want for the last several years that I wanted to create a living legacy. And why did I want to create a living legacy? Let's first define that. Well, I mean, I've been thinking about mastering my practice as a practicing chiropractor in many different ways. And that is multifaceted, meaning that there's the hands-on skills, there's the technical skills, the knowledge skills, the experience, for example. And you can relate this to any industry. Think about what industry you're in right now, and think about all the expertise that you're developing or have developed over the years, and you think, if you could just share that with some people, and especially to monetize that and add value to people's businesses and their lives, well, people will pay for that, obviously. And people will pay for that even though they're getting it recorded, remotely certainly, or perhaps one-on-one or live in person at maybe the top level. So as a practicing chiropractor, I know that I've developed a high degree of mastery in certain areas. Now, how do I share that with the masses in a practical way and look at the ability to help a lot of people? In other words, leverage not only my time, but my efforts and my reach. So an opportunity came up with a friend of mine to take this course and I'll give a shout out to Doug, Doug and Strickland, Ultimate Podcast Formula, and basically create a podcast within 6 weeks. Like it's and so it was a crash course and teaching me how to create a podcast, even though I had it in the back of my mind for off and on for about 5 years that I want to create a podcast, or at least be on a podcast first. And so I have participated in a number of interviews, but I hadn't taken the big leap. In other words, getting started. Today's Brand Builders TV is partly about getting started. So how do they get started? Well, if you understand that an action is first before the action is usually the thought and the inspiration. So you have an inspiration, you have a thought. Most people stop there, and I did stop there because I had a thought about doing a podcast. Well, that would be cool. I was interviewed on a few podcasts. That was kind of cool. I enjoyed that. But a big leap from getting started that way to actually acting. So the action point in your step to creating a legacy is actually moving forward. And that's not a simple concept, but I mean, it is a simple concept, but it's not a simple process. It can be if you take the leap. And some people talk about taking the leap, and so I did. I said, yes, I will take this course, and I went in full bore. In fact, they had a contest in that course, and I won one of the prizes for participation. No surprise, because when I say I'm going to do something, I do something. So if you're that type of person, then great. Be careful of what you say yes to, and be very targeted in that, and then say no to lots of things that could distract you. That's another tip, if you will, for getting started and getting something done, creating your legacy project. So specifically about you creating your legacy project, obviously it's the inspiration and the thought, and then to take specific action and then plan it out. Not only plan it out, but get help. Like I had to get help because this podcast concept was brewing for the better part of 5 years or more, and I didn't do it till I had the specific action steps mapped out. Even though I didn't know exactly what to do, I got help and got guidance and got coaching, expert coaching on getting that done. So whatever your legacy project is, getting started starts with the inspiration and the thoughts of doing it, and then there is a point where you have to say, yes, I'm going to dive in, and then make those plans and steps. And of course, that led to actions upon actions in the right direction, which leads to results. And that's what you really want. And the result is now I've launched Practice Mastery Podcast, available on Apple, all the majors, Apple, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and numerous others. And I'm almost at 100 downloads, and that was just, ooh, wow, less than 8 weeks ago or so when I started this project, which is really a bit hard to believe, that I now have a live launched podcast. So I invite all listeners to search Practice Mastery. It's really designed more for chiropractors and natural health care practitioners. but all kinds of people from all kinds of fields have already listened and said there's great insight and value in that, and that's part of I suppose communicating some mastery and also getting adding value to in content that of course people can listen over and over. I have one listener who's a non-chiropractor that just loves the podcast and says that she listened to my episode 3 5 times, I think, because she just said she got so much out of it. So I'm flattered by that. And of course, for you as here on Brand Builders Television, that Living Legacy project, if you think about what you're doing in business and in life right now, I think if you really just shift that thinking to think what can you pass down as a living legacy and to serve and to help, I think that perspective, just imagine if you go forward in your business with that level of importance, that what you're doing is that important, that it's a part of your living legacy. And if it's a part of your major living legacy, then that is phenomenal. In other words, there is that it's just not another project, it's not another chore, it's actually something that you really feel passionate about and that people have to know about it. And not only that, you have to share it. That's part of what I define as being a living legacy. And to me, Practice Mastery podcast for chiropractors, it's your call to greatness. That's in the tagline, your call to greatness. So that's so in that, I want to share with you a couple of the challenges. This wasn't easy. I mean, in certainly COVID times right now, global pandemic, there's lots of things that I'll call it firefighting, both at the clinics. You know, I own 2 clinics here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Fortunately, you know, health-wise, we are open for business, but under all kinds of challenges and reduced hours and reduced clients per hour and such too. So, you know, and then there's staffing issues, and if you run a bricks and mortar business or ran one before, you'll know that having actual staff and seeing clients, and which are of course real people, have needs and things that need to be looked after. So the point is that life was very, very busy, and then this opportunity to create a podcast came up in a very distinct way. It basically came knocking at my door. So I had a choice to go for it, or put it on pause, or just think about it like you might sit there and think about a lot of things. You know, I heard one time, this is men tend to make decisions this way. So if they're posed with perhaps a sales conversation, and you might have experienced this before, and I'm the potential customer. If I am really not sure, I'm the type of person that will say, well, I need to think about it, which is usually a deferral saying no, to say no. And I've heard that, I mean, it is also an emotional decision whether to buy a car, or, you know, sign up for a course and actually pay for the course, etc. But you know, for women, I've heard that the decision is more emotional. Men, it can be very emotional too. So these are just generalities. But my example of this is that when it's a combination of, when it's a yes, yes, or some people say hell yes, then that's ideally what you want when someone's you know, making a decision to say, yes, I'm going to do this and jump all in. But then where does buyer's remorse come in? And have you felt that lately? Or having some remorse and saying, well, gee, you know, I probably didn't really want to do that because I'm so busy. So that's where the mind starts to interfere with the emotional decision. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when you make a legacy project decision, make it, even though it's a small one. And to me, doing this and creating this podcast was a fairly big decision. And I almost backed out because I thought, well, I don't know how much time this is. I don't know what I'm getting into. Sound like a familiar conversation to you? And if you don't know what you're getting into, a lot of people don't decide. Like as they say, a confused person tends not to decide, at least not to decide very rationally. And that's part of the male type of my decision making matrix is, well, let me think about it. Even though if and even if it's one of my staff asking me, I think we should do this. Do you want to do this? Or especially I hate it when someone wants to get me on a call for a sales conversation and we know they're cold calling me. Let me think about it. Or my staff say, well, he's unavailable right now. He'll call you back if he's interested. Usually is a polite way of saying no. So whoever the type of person you are in decision making, what I'm saying is that when you're moving towards a legacy project, whatever it be, whether your program, whether your business, whether certainly your family, that those are different. I'm not talking about necessarily family decisions, but they can be. I'm saying that when you really jump in 100%, that's when things get done, obviously. So kind of to summarize today's conversation about getting started on a major project, which actually it did turn out to be a major project. I can still remember I really wanted to get certain things done and set up, and to start recording my podcasts. Well, there's a whole bunch of back end work that needs to be done, and I won't bore you with details, but I still remember, this is a work night. I was up till 3 a.m. hammering this stuff out. And I thought, wow, that's almost an all-nighter in university or chiropractic college way back when, and I hadn't done that for a long time. Mind you, when I was working on the spinecoach.com stuff, which is really, not active so much anymore. That's where I was coaching and working with spine type clients, not chiropractors. So much that I pulled some late nights doing that type of stuff, creating content, working on stuff. And that wasn't necessarily the smartest or the best thing, but I was passionate about it and needed to get it done. So that's when when you have that level of commitment and you need to do those things, that's usually when you're working on some legacy stuff or really important stuff. I hope so anyways. Make it worth your while. So fast forward, where is Practice Mastery podcast now? Well, if you're a chiropractor or if you know you're a chiropractor that needs support and help, this is basically a worldwide free resource where they get some great content from a very experienced practitioner. Me hosting the show, 33 years in practice. I host the show right now. There's the first episode is quitting chiropractic. I honestly thought about quitting chiropractic more than once, and so go listen to episode 1, and if you're interested in that story. For natural health practitioners, episode 2 is more about what is practice mastery for chiropractors and natural. When I say natural health practitioners, it is, this podcast really is sharing my story and then interviewing many different chiropractors mostly, but then there will be guest experts. In fact, Sammy's going to be a guest expert in an upcoming episode. Woohoo! And we have to schedule that yet. So she will be talking about building an ideal brand, and of course brand building is a whole area of expertise. And so look forward to that in the future episode. And then episode 3 so far that's launched is really the steps towards and the different components of practice mastery. So I just introduced some different ideas, share some of my stories about achieving and even failing in achieving mastery in certain areas. And really, mastery is one of those things and concepts that you never truly do totally master something. And that's why that is also a living legacy in my mind. And that's why I created and came up carefully, constructed the name and the brand, Practice Mastery. And of course, what I want to do is work with a select number of chiropractors and natural health practitioners because there's that common sense of needing community and needing support and needing coaching and needing mentorship. Like I say, when I wanted to produce this podcast, that was a 5 years ago thought and an inspiration, if you will. But it wasn't till I decided, truly decided to get started, that I started. And it took very specific action steps and a very specific program in this case, or it might be for you a very specific coach in mind, practice coach perhaps, to get you through this. And in other words, have a very organized, help someone organize you and organize your thoughts to move forward. Because really that's what it's about. If you're going to get started, well, don't just start and drop things, even though, I mean, I've started lots of things that I have started and dropped, but typically not major things. If I step in and say yes, let your yes be yes, let your no's be no's. And there should probably, for healthy business balance, is say a lot more no's to people and things and certain opportunities than to say yes to everything and get totally bound up with that. So I love your engagement. In this group, of course, Brand Builders TV. There's engagement well beyond the Facebook Live. I want to thank Sammy Blindell of the Brand Builders and Brand Builders Club for the opportunity to share with you. I see many of you doing some amazing stuff, creating legacies, living legacies, helping people, serving people. And it's opportunities like this to get it out there. And in this case, my Practice Mastery podcast, I hope that you'll have a look at least, share it with if everybody knows some chiropractors and natural health practitioners that could use support and be thriving instead of just surviving. Certainly with these, as everyone talks about, in these uncertain times, we need to support each other and help each other out. And what better than to offer the gift of something like a podcast support. And there's some great guests coming up. The season is officially launching October. The podcast launches weekly, and it will launch weekly, in October of 2020, and then it's a weekly show for the season, which will end in the summer sometime. And then we're constantly producing content and interviewing guest experts and chiropractors and natural health practitioners. And so that's an opportunity to not only learn, get educated, but get inspired, and also to get entertained, because I try to keep it entertaining and lively. And that's about it. So in the engagement, in Facebook Live. I look forward to answering questions and helping you out. But Practice Mastery podcast for chiropractors, your call to greatness is my legacy. What's your legacy going to be? So, as you do things and move forward and commit to moving forward, you get one step closer to practice mastery. So that's my message today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks again, Sammy Blundell, for inviting me, and look forward to serving you and helping you, and love your questions. And pop by on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or any where you get your favorite place to get podcasts. Check out Practice Mastery. Thanks and bye for now. We're signing out.
I hope that you've enjoyed the show today as much as we've enjoyed making it for you. If you've got anything out of this episode, please do tell someone else how they can subscribe to the Brand Builders TV channel at youtube.com/brandbuilderstv. Why not join us at our next Brand Builders Thinkubator, a global mastermind that we run every week to take away the loneliness of being in business on your own. For more information and to book your place, visit light.brandbuilders.club/Thinkubator. That's light.brandbuilders.club/Thinkubator. Until next time, be the ripple that you wish to see in the world, and we'll see you soon.